1997. The world is really awesome. Everyone's on heroin, wearing Jinkos, lining up to see Spice World in theaters. The Comedy Network takes a huge risk by putting on an animated series full of foul language, explicit violence, and shitty childlike drawings.
Oh my God! They killed Kenny! You bastard! Hey, look! I think Kenny's okay. He's not dead! Dude, Kenny is dead! See? Shut up, you guys! He's dead!
Shockingly, it's a success. A man chugs down a lukewarm Coors Light, spilling it down his chin and onto a cigarette ash-stained carpet. "You call that foul language?" he screams drunkenly at his television. "You call that violent?" he growls, burping up beer and a slight overdose of NyQuil. "You call that shitty childlike drawing?" He turns on Metallica's Reload tape, as loud as it will go in his Walkman, and opens up MS Paint. That man was Rob Lewis, and in 1998 he would open his website, stickdeath.com. StickDeath.com would become home to Rob's animations after he was allegedly kicked out of Newgrounds.com for the piss-poor quality of his cartoons. Over the next few years, he would hone and develop his Stickman style, create characters and story arcs, and move from GIF animations over to Flash, allowing for better tweening, music, and sound effects, as well as interactivity in his videos. The formula is pretty straightforward. Blue Stickman kills Green Stickman.
You do, and it'll be the biggest mistake you ever made, you Texas brush popper. You son of a bitch!
Or sometimes a group of Blue Stickman kill a Green Stickman.
Get out of the car with your hands in the air.
Look out, he's got a gun!
Hey, they never had no fucking gun.
Or sometimes a red Stickman kills a blue Stickman. Brilliant! Ugh. Now, despite the hatred that Stickman animations had received earlier in the style's existence, a new Stickman-style animation on Newgrounds was turning heads at the same time as Rob was reaching the height of his popularity. Zhu Cheng, a Chinese feller living in China, probably, I don't know, we really don't know that much about him, was inspired by Hong Kong martial arts cinema as well as platforming games and the blockbuster hit The Matrix to create a series of relatively lengthy and complicated videos of stickmen engaged in combat. There was no comedy per se in these cartoons, and the emphasis was strictly on smooth animation and complicated stickman fight choreography. Both of these animators would spawn hundreds of imitators, many of whom would try to blend the brutally violent and profane slapstick of Rob Lewis with the impeccably smooth and hypnotic animation of Zhu. And while virtually all of these imitators had their own websites, many portals came up to collect these stick figure killing cartoons. One of the biggest and largest and most popular was SFDT, that's the Stick Figure Death Theater. Stick Figure Death Theater would be the place where many animators would move away from both Shou and Stick Death and attempt to create their own style. Animators like ExtraTurnips abandoned the line tool and tweening in favor of a choppier frame-by-frame, hand-drawn aesthetic. Rob DenBleyker, clearly inspired by Rob Lewis's Super Beast, created Joe Zombie, a long ongoing series about a man trying to stop a cannibalistic midget. Murphy and Cooper combined melodrama with their Matrix-inspired action.
Please, I promise I won't tell.
Dave S.W., or Dave McElfatrick, would create a series with giant robots, while Ralph Sweeney would recreate scenes from Dragon Ball Z with disturbing accuracy. And if you look at the quality of these animations, some of these, and the backgrounds and the objects, you might really be puzzled. Why were all these gifted animators still drawing fucking stick figures for their characters? So all these animators would post on the SFDT portal, and as mentioned earlier, all these animators had their own unique characters, and each had their own website. Additionally, everyone's website linked to everybody else's website. ExtraTurnips linked to Stick Wars linked to Dinoax linked to Alexander Early linked to Stick Suicide, to make matters even more confusing, was not just home to Rob DenBleyker and some Matt guy, but also it had its own portal, which pretty much had the same users submit the same things they would submit on SFDT, and sometimes they'd submit other people's work and claim it as their own. And did anyone make any money off this? These massive networks and empires of websites and cartoons and games and portals, did they rake in the dough? No. These were middle and high school boys, without exception, just fucking around with a pirated copy of Flash. So from the lone rogue animators of Rob and Zhu, the stick figure killing hobbyists turned into a community, where animators were friendly with each other, chatting over MSN and AIM, sometimes contributing objects, backgrounds, and voices to each other's work. The next step was inevitably collaboration. And to understand how the biggest collaboration in the history of stick death cartoons came to be, you have to understand the story of Chad. Not Thundercock, this was way before that, 2002, 2003. A different Chad. Chad Himmelspatch. Flash cartoons don't really have any kind of security or protection on them. There was never anything stopping someone from downloading the raw SWF file of a cartoon they like and embedding it on their own website. Additionally, as many animators at this time didn't bother putting their name or their website address in their actual animation, there was nothing to stop someone from taking that work and submitting it to a portal like Newgrounds or SFDT or Stick Suicide as their own. One such unabashed thief was Chad. He stole Flash animations from smaller creators, posting them as his own on portals. He would steal source code from bigger creators to make his site look nice. And he would just take people's stuff and post it on his own site without their permission. Rob DenBleyker was so angry he could barely hold his toke of shitty ditchweed resin in his lungs. Dave McElfatrick vomited, once out of fury, and a second time because he's a deeply troubled Irish alcoholic. Alexander Early could barely hold his protractor straight as he measured his backgrounds. He was so mad. Rob DenBleyker shouted, "We gotta do something about this." "Shut the fuck up and come get dinner," his mother replied from the kitchen. The Antichad was a collaboration between 7 stick death animators spending a full 10 minutes, which is pretty long for these things, a full 10 minutes, mocking, beating, and killing Chad. And with its grand scope, positive reactions from both inside and outside the stick-killing community, and as well as kind of the single-mindedness of purpose, it is perhaps a high watermark for the trend. Unfortunately, amateur-made Flash animations in general were slowly becoming passé, owing to a proliferation of 4chan memes and weird insular groups like the Clock Crew, and then there was the popularity of webcomics. These two guys, Rob DenBleyker and Dave, would continue to collaborate, trying a new format, webcomics. Their comic, Cyanide and Happiness, is arguably one of the best known and most beloved comics on the internet, even spawning its own television show now on the VRV streaming service, making them the first stick death animators to have ever earned any money from this retarded hobby. Rob Lewis would close StickDeath.com, drunkenly hop on a black steed while blaring the newest Disturbed album out of a ghetto blaster, and ride into the moonless night, never to be heard from again. SFDT would also close its doors, as most of the animators would eventually graduate high school and move on to college and work and wouldn't have time to contribute. Others, however, finding themselves lost and without purpose, without the stick figure killing community, would fall into despair with drugs and alcohol, streaming on bitwave.tv to 22 viewers.
But can we still talk about why you cried on Murderer's stream?
I did not cry on Murderer's stream.
But Wolf said so it has to be true.
I did not.
Yeah, and Cecil said you were probably too drunk to remember, which I believe.
Cecil. Oh, God.
There's Kowalski! Hey, Kowalski!
And so, Rob Lewis's novel idea of a green stickman killing a blue stickman spawned a genre, and genres within a genre, a community around the genre, and just like that, the internet moved on to something else. Wait, SFDT is coming back! SFDT is coming back! Wait, no, never mind. Fuck this guy.